up, sis? What's the problem? Well, here's the file. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Like a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, get the documents from. Here we go. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Look a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, get the documents from. Here we go. Knock knock. Now me and my kid. Now they got me on a plane Madrid. Can't say must get. Documents, scheme on brick. One rig to retrieve, send pick. Back team and quiz. Hurrying, homie in the lobby, honey studying the lottie-dottie. Once a piece, so Hun's a chief. Bodyguard study charming, find spot to sneak, kid a weakness, I peeped it. Housekeeping, leaping, he's sleeping, give a little piece then. Click, click, pick skips. Off to me, what did me? Hush, what me Jimmy? List the white collar crimmy. Hope do the right thing with I bring Brits. Don't also keep a copy for me just in case trifling, might get in trouble though. Hype nigga like a flow, life of a double O. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Like a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, get the documents from. Here we go. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Look a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, sign documents from. Here we go.
This that alcohol at the back of your neck after a fresh cut, sharp and dressed up. Sway Valley dope boy grace. The 88 911 Porsche in the car chase. Hit the switch, drop oil and slide safe to home base. Go yard, place your bets. Subway series, Yankee Mets. Sticking up the game again. Yankee and the Englishman. Who the best storytellers? Keep it a Will Chamberlain. Gangster and a gentleman. Cameras and bow ties. Fragrances, linens are tie-dyed. Suave Monaco flow. Universal audience watches us. Green Burmese, lotus flower. Silky as tux. Connected like Clarence Avon. Respected like Stringer Bell and Barksdale Avon. It pulls at my heartstrings just to say I got a song by Ricky and Nas, Black Bonds.
Now they got me like a top agent. Yeah, slick. 008, 1964. Feel me? Now what's up, sis? What's the problem? Well, here's the file. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Like a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, get the documents from. Here we go. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Look a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, get the documents from. Here we go. Knock knock. Now me and my kid, now they got me on a plane Madrid. Can't say must get. Documents, scheme on brick. One rig to retrieve, send pick. Back team and quiz. Hurrying, homie in the lobby, honey studying the lottie-dottie. Once a piece, so Hun's a chief. Bodyguard study charming, find spot to sneak, kid a weakness, I peeped it. Housekeeping, leaping, he's sleeping, give a little piece then. Click, click, pick skips. Off to me, what did me? Hush, what me Jimmy? List the white collar crimmy. Hope do the right thing with I bring Brits. Don't also keep a copy for me just in case trifling, might get in trouble though. Hype nigga like a flow, life of a double O. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Like a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, get the documents from. Here we go. Now they got me like a top agent Shogun, watching me program. Look a hot nigga go from smash and explosion. Check the fabrics he worn from. Sass on the flow, sign documents from. Here we go.
This that alcohol at the back of your neck after a fresh cut, sharp and dressed up. Sway Valley dope boy grace. The 88 911 Porsche in the car chase. Hit the switch, drop oil and slide safe to home base. Go yard, place your bets. Subway series, Yankee Mets. Sticking up the game again. Yankee and the Englishman. Who the best storytellers? Keep it a Will Chamberlain. Gangster and a gentleman. Cameras and bow ties. Fragrances, linens are tie-dyed. Suave Monaco flow. Universal audience watches us. Green Burmese, lotus flower. Silky as tux. Connected like Clarence Avon. Respected like Stringer Bell and Barksdale Avon. It pulls at my heartstrings just to say I got a song by Ricky and Nas, Black Bonds.
Now they got me like a top agent.
What's up, coach?
What's going on, man?
Man, Slick Rick got us coming in like he's 20 years old. This man 60 years old.
He can still ride a beat, man. He can still ride a beat.
Yes, sir, man. Shout out to Ricky Waters and Nasir Jones. Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you just fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Good.
Okay, that was my bad. I was on mute. I said, yeah, Slick Rick is still riding a beat.
Yeah, man. I said shout out to Ricky Waters and Nasir Jones, man.
Yeah. How
Oh
are you,
man,
man? How are you?
man, I'm fantastic. I would only be better if I was you.
No, not the way you walked in the gym this weekend.
But you know what? That's just the way I walk. Dude asked me when I was in the gym. He's like, "Man, are you a coach?" I said, "No, man, I ain't a coach.
Yeah, you got that swag.
I'm just a cat who believes in himself."
Confidence
So,
is
man,
90% of it sometimes.
hey, man, and shout out to before we get started, man. Shout out to Keno Cohen, Wendell Sims, Kerry Rich,
Carry.
Andre Bovain,
Yeah,
cats.
bunch of cats.
That's where I got that swag from, man.
Yes.
Just watching those dudes do what they did, man. But with that being said, man, we got my man Coach James Williams in the building today from Vorhees. We're gonna do a little NAIA work today.
Yeah.
And man, you got a special story, and I've been I'm really excited about having you on, man. Much respect to you, and first and foremost, man, thanks for joining. And we're gonna get into Voorhees, but
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about where you're from and your story, because I know it is in Augusta. Is it in Augusta or Statesboro? But just talk about where you're from and coming up.
It's a mix of both. First of all, man, thank you for providing a voice, not only for South Carolina, but I'm saying just for all the people in this particular states, which I've come to appreciate and love, man. So thank you so much for inviting me. It's my pleasure more than anything else to be on because I follow. James Williams. I'm from Augusta, but I grew up military, which is how I ended up in Statesboro near my stepfather's final duty spot was in Fort Stewart. So my mom said she was tired of moving, so she started working in Statesboro. So we just moved to Statesboro. So I moved there in 10th grade. But I pretty much claim Atlanta because that's actually where I've lived the longest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I lived in Atlanta the longest. Every other place that I lived in was for like 2 and 3 years.
Okay.
Even when I got to Statesboro, I only lived in Statesboro for 10th grade through 12th grade. So that was 3 years, and then I was out.
Shout out to Zach's Wings in Statesboro. Shout out to Zach's Wings in Statesboro. But keep going.
Shout out Zaxby started there. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Shout out to my rest in peace to Coach Lee Hill, my high school coach, man, a legend, great guy. Yeah, so that's where my basketball journey kind of fizzled, man. Ironically, a lot of people don't know this, but I have 8 screws on the plate in my ankle. So Statesboro.
Damn.
Yeah, Statesboro's a football town. So my 12th grade year, I decided to go and play football. I was pretty good because that was my first year ever playing football. And I was stock blocking, and I got hit from behind by a defensive end who rolled on my ankle. It wasn't even a live drill. The D end, the tackle had pushed the DN into the DBs and the wide receivers out there, near the sideline. And he went tumbling. I'm stock blocking. So, I can't see the play behind me or whatever. And just rolled on my ankle. So that was my senior year. So I was poised to go NAIA, Morris Brown. I ended up going to West Virginia Wesleyan. I ended up walking on there because I pretty much lost any interest that I had at the point of the injury. So I ended up going to West Virginia Wesleyan and spent a year there. Ended up failing out of school, man. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm a college dropout.
and that's why you gotta love the Lost Letterman. This is the only place you're gonna get these stories. So keep going, man.
So man, I wasn't very popular in high school. Went to college in the mountains in West Virginia and got my first taste of the ladies and the life of being independent, from my mother, and didn't do what I was supposed to do, and I got sent back home 3 semesters into college. And So I probably spent the next year in my mom's living room, because at that time I ain't have a room no more. You know, when you go off to college, you know, they sell your room to your sister, or they create an office or something like that. So I ain't have a room. So I was sleeping in my mom's living room working at Walmart in Statesboro, because that was like the it place. If you from Statesboro during that particular time, you know, Walmart was the place, you know, because you got the college and then you got the town. So yeah. So I'm working at Walmart, and man, I said, this ain't for me. And I've always been a dreamer. Always been a dreamer. Grew up gifted. Grew up a little different than everybody. And I said, man, this can't be my life at, 19, 20 years old. So I moved to Atlanta. I actually hitchhiked to Atlanta. I didn't have nobody.
What year was this?
This was 2002.
Okay.
So I went to Atlanta in 2002. I had an uncle and an aunt who lived up there. Shout out to my Uncle Olin, who's rolling right now with his business, and my auntie. They were in Atlanta. And I lived with my uncle for a little bit. That didn't work out. He details cars, so I was working with him. I hitchhiked to Atlanta. And then next thing you know, I'm working at AT&T. I'm working at car dealerships, just working. And
what side of Atlanta you in?
So my uncle lived in Marietta, but I wanted to be on the east side because that's where all the Ethiopian girls were. I was in the Ethiopian women at the time. Shout out to my wife too, man. My wife is probably listening and watching. This is just old stories.
2002. 2002.
Yeah, 2002, man. 2002. So I started working at AT&T, which was in Kennesaw, and I had some friends. And again, basketball. So I started playing in the pro-ams and in the rec leagues there. And during this particular time, like, it was real popular to play in like the Smyrna Rec League, which is a big league. So you playing in all the
I used to play at Smyrna Rec 5 o'clock in the morning.
And
I know Smyrna Rec. Yeah.
It was so much talent, and you playing good games, and even in the LA Fitness, so you playing good games. And so I actually got better.
Which LA Fitness? Which LA Fitness? You going East Cobb? I mean, Cobb Parkway or
Acres Mill?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
With Larry.
Yeah, I was at Lifetime too. I was at Lifetime Fitness as well. So I was playing there. And one of my coworkers, because I'm a Laker fan, so I had my cubicle like laced with all types of stuff. And one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, my son's playing in this rec league. Can you just come watch?" Because they knew I loved the game. Like, I would always be around the game. They knew I loved the game. Wasn't thinking about coaching. I still was playing. And actually, Mike Stinger developed the WBA. I don't know if you remember that. It was a league in Atlanta called the WBA, World Basketball.
What does that stand? World Basketball Association?
Yeah.
Okay.
Glenn Stinger created this league, and so it was like a stepping stone for guys to try to get in the professional ranks. I went and tried out. I got cut. That was the first time I ever been cut. And so I said, this ain't for me no more, because I ain't want to, I could have probably worked out and went back to eating right, but I was just living the life in Atlanta during this time. This is when T.I., Jeezy, this is when it was hot. Like, BMF was not in jail at the time, so everything was like live in the city, right? So
I was in Atlanta during that time. Talk about some shouting twists, but keep going.
Oh yeah, that's when Buckhead was not the Buckhead we have now. And so one of my coworkers said, "Hey man, can you come? I know you love basketball. Just tell me if I'm wrong." He said, "Come watch my son's practice." I walked into the gym. Time what I tell you, man, they were practicing on half court, which irks me to this day. I don't understand how you could practice on half court with little kids trying to teach them the game. Uh-huh. It was 45 minutes, and I watched this practice, and it was something inside of me that said, this isn't right. Like, these kids are being done a disservice for the game that I love. And so I kept coming back, and the director of this particular league had noticed me keep coming back. He was like, "Hey, you want to coach?" And I was like, "Nah, not really, but I would like to offer some suggestions, that may help you, with this league." And I was like, maybe combine the practices with the kids and work on full court, because probably should start with teaching them the lines, like what each line mean, because they mean different things. Because you can't just tell kids to do half court and then now all of a sudden you're gonna put them in a game. You teach them 45 minutes on Monday, then you tell them they got to play a game on Thursday. Like, it's going to be crazy. Like, you're not giving them a basis. And so naturally, I'm a teacher. Again, I don't have my college degree. I've been just working, in the city. And so then a couple months went by. He had another son. He asked me to come watch day practice. So I go watch day practice. And all this is kind of leading somewhere. And I'll make a long story shorter. I had another coworker who, by the time we get to the summer of 2006, I got another coworker who says, "Hey, man, I got an AAU team. Come, just tell me, just give me some advice." So I go to the practice and I'm watching the practice. I'm like, "Man, you got, it's a low level, AAU program at this particular time. Like, just it's pretty much designed to just give kids that maybe got cut from some other programs and stuff like that. So it wasn't really high level kids. But again, my natural inclination is to teach. I want to be able to give you the tools necessary for you to learn so you could take whatever it is you need to take. So you're not having to keep coming to me. That's always been the basis of how I thought of the game. And so one day my man didn't show up. Like, he just didn't come to practice. And so the director of the AAU program is looking at me. She was like, can you do something? Now, this is spur of the moment. So I jump in, and next thing you know, I'm an AAU coach. And so that's really
that's AAU though.
That's how I got into coaching in 2006. And that started a love for this game, to be able to teach it, that, took me on my journey. So from 2006 to 2011, so for 5 years, I was doing travel ball. And then in 2011, I got a chance to be an assistant at Kings Ridge Christian Academy in Alpharetta, Georgia, which is right around the corner from St. Francis, which is right around the corner from where Coach Huff was. So there's a connection. Coach Huff, yes,
Huff.
He was the head.
Yeah. Shout out to Coach Huff. I was going to talk about him a little bit later, but
so Coach Huff is the head coach at St. Francis. So his first semester, you know how it goes when you become an assistant. It's a private school, so I don't necessarily have to have a degree. So second semester comes up, we go to break. I'm on the way back to our first day back from practice, and the AD calls me. The AD says, "Hey, coach, we just fired the head coach. We need you to take over for the rest of the season." I said, "What?" Like, I was not expecting that, right? I'm coming back from break. And so I end up, and they say, "We know you don't have your degree. You're not, you did the lay coaching certifications, but, you can't be the head coach, but we're going to have somebody from the school kind of be your assistant, but we want you to run the program, for the rest of the semester." So that was my first foray into making head coaching decisions. I was not prepared. So I immediately called my pastor. No, I called my mentor at the time. And my mentor said, "Man, you were built for this. You this is what you were created for. Like, go into this with that word you use, confidence." So I had to suck it up, because I started crying. Like I'm a crier, by the way. So, if I tear up, I just want to warn you. This is my story is.
You know what? I don't think we've had anybody cry on here, but it's always the first. It's always the first.
I'm gonna say, because God has been so good to me, man. Like, I just can't imagine. I can't make this stuff up. Like how I've been in situations. Like, I can't make it up, because I didn't orchestrate any of this. And so I take over, and but they fired me at the end of the season. And my best friend, who he and I brought him on my AAU program when I was with them, and then he ended up getting a job at Norcross, and he was an assistant at Norcross. And so I get fired. Well, they tell me they're gonna bring in another coach who basically didn't want me around anymore. So I end up meeting Coach Jesse McMillan, and me and Coach Mac met. I'll never forget it. I met him on the football field. So it's like spring. It's right before football season get ready to start. I think it might have been like the scrimmage game right before the season starts. And my homeboy, my best friend Kareem, he said, "Hey, this is the guy I was telling you about. I meet Coach Mac." And I don't know if you ever met Coach Jesse McMillan. You ever met him?
No, and you still working your corporate gig at this time, or is you still?
Well, actually, in 2012, I started
a true Atlanta cat. But keep going.
But actually, I left AT&T in 2011. So actually, at this time, I don't have a job anymore, because what I was doing was, I'm in the office printing off I'm printing out plays. I'm doing the whole, using the company printer.
Oh, I know. You on that printer? I know. I don't see that. I don't see that done.
I got the boss button.
Well, most cats do it with real estate, though. Most cats do it in real estate.
I got the boss button for March Madness. You know what I'm saying? I'm supposed to be focusing and I'm watching tournament games. So I was just like, man, the Holy Spirit was like, leave. And I cold turkey, man. I left AT&T. And I tell you, my family, everybody was confused. Like, why you leaving? And it was a good job too. I was making, I was doing very well. But I was committed. I was committed to wanting to coach. Like really, God put it in my heart to like do this. But I had to do it. Like if I was gonna do it, like I couldn't be part time. Right. So I meet Matt, and he's like, "Yo, we're gonna bring you on." And so in 2014, I started working with Norcross. So I started with them in 2014-15. And if anybody know anything about Norcross basketball, they have a tremendous basketball history. So
I got in
on the ground. I got in like it was to be able to work with him in that organization, which is what I think it is. This is an organization the way he's done it for as long as he has, and the way it's been running since 2000. I got a crash course in essentially how to run a high school program like a college program.
And just to cut you off, shout out to Pat Harper, my man, with the Atlanta Celtics. Atlantic Cats in Atlanta, man. Atlanta has so much talent. If you are good in just your county, Cobb County, DeKalb County, or like you're good. Like Bruce Pearl, he just comes to Atlanta to get his dues. Like he doesn't even need to go. It is so much talent in the Atlanta metropolitan area. But keep going, man. And it's high competition. And I'm actually going to Georgia Live this weekend to check out some of the talent.
I'm gonna see you with the cameras. Now I know when you got the camera following you, I know to jump in to say hello. I know now I'm gonna walk. But yeah, and even in South Georgia.
I got that from Dave Dash. Shout out for Dave Dash.
Marketing. You gotta market yourself. Keep
going though, Coach. I apologize.
This show. So I roll with you, man. I'm very much an adapter. And I would say even South Georgia, man. Coffee County, Long County, Savannah area, like just the whole state, and even the sun. I know you think about the Mitchell County. In the old days, in the 80s and 90s, all the talent that came through, that part of South Georgia, like
it's crazy. I was watching this past weekend, and I was watching the Gray man who was Greenville game, and was just sitting down on the baseline by myself, and a dude, just happened to start talking to me, and we happened to start talking. And he played at Auburn, and he was from one of those counties. And he knew Pat. He knew my man Pat Harper, and we were just talking like there's so much talent. And as you said, it's not just in Atlanta; it's all in Georgia. But we're gonna talk about South Carolina, but it's just all in Georgia.
The state's catching up. But so I worked at Norcross for 3.5 years. Man, I got a chance to work with some guys who are professional now. So not only did I get a chance to work with Coach Mack. He didn't really tell me stuff, but I got an opportunity to sit at his feet and watch. And I watched how organized he was. And I watched what he did with the team. And I watched how he navigated the personalities. Because we had 8 guys that went Division I on that between 2015 and 2017. Brandon Ball.
At Norcross?
Think about Rashad Hammons, Jordan Goldwire, who played at Duke. Rashad played at Georgia. Dalvin White, who played at 2 different schools. Think about Brandon Boston. I coached Brandon Boston. I'm just looking on my wall right now. Kyle Sturdivant, who was at Georgia Tech. Like that, you're dealing with high-level guys at that particular time of high school. And so I got an opportunity to just see what it was like. Not only do they work hard, but they make you as a coach work even harder because you got to try to stay ahead of those guys because they were hungry. Like they had dreams and visions and goals. And so now you got to sit and look at this 15, 16, 17-year-old kid who has aspirations to go to the NBA, and you got to match that. Not just with your own desires, but you got to match that with what his needs are and how to supersede that.
And let me cut you off. Let me ask you a question. And I actually asked another coach this kind of same kind of question, but and no disrespect to you and your career, but you didn't have a big like Power Five
No,
career. So and you're coaching guys at that
right,
time who are really
right.
talented. How do you? I mean, and you're a young dude, so you're just kind of probably just doing it. But how do you have the credibility to say? How do you have the credibility to coach them at that time? Because sometimes a kid will be like, "What's your resume?" And if your resume is not right, then he or she won't lock into you. How do you have how do you have the credibility? How do you develop the credibility with them, or how did you develop the credibility with them at that time to actually
Yeah.
coach
So I
them?
think it's two things. One, some of them see me be on the sidelines as a head coach, as making the head coaching decisions at Kingsbridge, because we played. You know what I'm saying? I actually coached against Cabrera Huff when he had Malik Beasley, Kobe
Yeah,
Simmons.
that's his
Yeah,
guy.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I actually coached the game against him when he had three, high Power Five and two pros on his team. So that was
yep,
part of it. Another part was when I got to Norcross, I had to go back. I had to have the mindset of hungry and go back down. I coached the ninth graders. When you have the eighth graders that come in for summer workouts, from the feeder programs or whatever. And of course, Norcross is going to attract, people. And so
yeah,
I was working with the ninth graders all summer. So they seen me grinding with the ninth graders. They seen me working with the
right.
ninth graders in the other gym, in the hot gym, you know what I'm saying, working with the ninth graders. And then the following year, and also, like I said, I give Coach Matt credit because he brought me. I became the seventh assistant, and I moved up to the third assistant that he would talk to during games and stuff like that. So I think it was those things. And the last thing that I would say is I built relationships with those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew their story. I took them home. If they needed to eat, you know what I'm saying, you get them, a meal, and you drop. What people underestimate is car rides home with kids.
We kind of talked a little bit about that when I talked to you on
Yeah,
this past weekend. Like if you don't, as a coach or anybody, at least in my opinion, if you don't really develop a bond with the player, you
you
can't
can't.
coach him because he or she, because man, that player, they'll
Yeah.
turn you off if you don't really. You can't coach them hard. You definitely can't coach them hard. but
Well,
keep
especially
going
high
with the
level
story.
guys because they have so many people in their
Yeah,
pocket trying to latch.
they got other options. They got other
Yeah,
options.
so you got to be genuine. Then I told him my story. I tell him I tell him my story. And then this is the last thing I'll say about that is there's the Christ factor, man. Like I can't say Jesus Christ and don't live that life. So they got to see me live
Right.
that, live a life of sacrifice, live a life of caring for people, live a life of love in that situation. They got to see those things. My second marriage, 5 of them were in my wedding. 5 of those guys from Norcross's basketball team were at my wedding. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
I'm surprised I wasn't in that
yeah,
wedding, man. You had that many people in it.
yeah. And one of my recent graduates here at Vorhees, one of my former players, I coached him in ninth grade. So it goes back to I brought him here to Vorhees when I became the head coach, and I coached him in ninth grade, like I was his ninth grade basketball coach. So relationships matter to me, and I believe in transformational leadership. So with that comes the being vulnerable, talking with them, making sure they care. Because if they don't believe in what you're saying, they're not going to execute it, and they're going to just blow you off, right? So that was that. But I also had support. And so at year 3.5, man, I started developing my philosophy. So I created this philosophy called Choices: communication, hard work, organization, integrity, commitment, excitement, sacrifice.
Oh God,
Yeah.
these coaches kill me with all these acronyms. Oh my God, and that's how I know I'm old. There's no way I can remember that. There's no way I can remember that, man. I would have been like, I would have been like choices, and like.
So what happens though is you become it. And so these were characteristics that I exhibited.
Yeah.
These are the things that I said, these are the 7 core things that I could do every day. If I don't do nothing else, Todd, these are the 7 things you should get all these from me in my life. You know what I'm saying? And so out of that came, breaking down the words and all that. Because I started to develop my coaching philosophy. Coach Mack said, "What's your philosophy? What do you believe in?" Because now at this time, I had got the taste of being a head coach. And I was like, man, this is something that I want to do for a long term. I ultimately wanted to coach in college. Just to go back, I grew up watching John Chaney, John Thompson. You know what I'm saying? I grew up watching Nolan Richardson. I grew up watching I knew about big house games. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even going back to Dr. Naismith with how he started basketball.
You got that knowledge.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I knew about the history of the game, especially African Americans. And I wasn't, especially in Georgia at that time, I wasn't seeing a lot of guys who looked like me that was on the sidelines. I did. And part of my inspiration was I want to be a face that looks like the guys that I'm around, which is mostly African American kids. But at the same time, I wanted to be universal with how I developed, how I contributed to the game of basketball. And so, year 3.5, man, I Drew Charter School came open.
Oh, that's right around the corner. I live 3 minutes from there.
Drew Charter School came open, and I wasn't going to apply. I wasn't, because I was good at Norcross. I mean, we had just we were about to be nationally ranked again. Coach Mack had showed me the schedule. We was headed out to Portland. I wanted to go to the Nike store. Like I was with rock stars, and I was the assistant coach that's hanging out with rock stars. You meet Bruce. I met all these coaches who couldn't even remember me if they told.
Well, because y'all had the talent. Because y'all had the talent.
If they you'll see this weekend. If they see me, they act like they never met me a day in their life. But I'll remember, my interactions with them, in the school, whatever. But and so a friend of mine called me. He said, "Coach, get your stuff together. Send in your resume. Send in your packet. I'm gonna get you an interview." Just called me and told me that and hung up the phone. I kid you not. He said, "Put your packet together, send in your resume, do the application. You're gonna get an interview." And like 2 days later, I got a call for the interview. And I just went in, and just like you and I are talking, I had worked on I had already, as I was working with Coach Mack, I was developing my philosophies, things I would take from Mack, things I had seen. I had developed this play bank, this bank of plays that I wanted to implement and use. So I was already curating what it was like to be a head coach without being a head coach. And I was asking Coach Mack questions. Like I said, Mack is not the type to sit down and be like, "Hey, I'm a mentor you." But he is open book if you ask him questions. And I was asking questions. You know what I'm saying? He gave me his blessing, and I interviewed, and I got the job. I got the job. Yep.
I work out every morning.
He's like right over there, Eva Davis way. And
well, Paris will break their neck trying to get in Drew Charter, but keep going, Coach.
And so took the job at Drew, and I knew it was going to be a task because it was 6 years. It was a program that was started in 2014. They had only been around 3-4 years at this particular time. They hadn't had a winning season. They didn't think they were very talented. And again, it goes back to mentality. And I'm going to keep using the word confidence, which I appreciate you being you so much, in that it shows. I was confident that I could turn it around. Not because of me, but because of I knew the attitude needed to change. Here it is. I had not lost more than 5 games in a season in 3 years at Norcross, so I didn't understand what losing was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a different beast going down there. Hey, you know what? You don't have a natural feeder at Drew Charter either. You don't have a natural.
So you got to develop.
Norcross, you got the whole, got the whole county. Drew Charter is different. It's a different beast. People going to Drew Charter for the academics.
And so at this particular time, I had to step back and see what I had. And so you did say that, but in all honesty, the feeder program just wasn't developed because they have an elementary, middle, and high school. So now you just got to make it appealing for the elementary schools to want to stay in Drew all through K through 12. So I believed in the vision of Drew. And I think that goes back to whenever you take a job, you got to understand what the vision is at the top and let it filter down. They believe in K through 12. So I said, okay, I'm going to embrace myself with the elementary school, let them get to know me. So when they get to middle school, they want to be an Eagle. So they're not leaving. They're not going to Maynard Jackson. They're not moving out to Gwinnett County. They're not going to Thera or Doug or any of these other places, which Anthony Edwards, speaking of another NBA player, our middle school team played. Got a chance to see him in middle school. because they played Drew, being that he went to the rival middle school. And so in 3 years there, man, we just turned it around. We went from winning 16 games, which was the most wins they had, to 17 games, which is the second most wins they had, and 18 games. And then 2 years after I left, they won a state championship. But it was instilling the winning attitude. They didn't think they could win. The only thing they had won in was tennis. And then golf got good. Golf is real good there, because the East Lake Golf Course. Right? So
I can see golf being really good at Drew Charter.
Shout out to Coach Weems. And so the formula for me was, I kept that first year. I kept the guy who was connected to the school, and that was Joe Weems. Joe Weems was connected with all the kids. He had seen all the kids from element. He had seen them when there was no Drew Charter High School. He seen them.
Yeah, because Drew Charter is not an old school. I mean, that's a new school, man. And
so he's seen all those kids. And then by the time we got to 2017, you just, you find a couple kids. And I had 2 kids I had one kid go Division II and one kid go Division I, and Marcus Foster, who played at Furman.
Actually, it's crazy. I think he might be training there in the mornings, because I'll talk to somebody. It's like, yeah, man, he played at Drew Charter. Like, man, I didn't even know they had ball players at Drew Charter.
He just signed overseas. So I coach Marcus I coached him his 10th, 11th, 12th grade year. And you know what I'm saying? The thing about him was giving him the confidence, because I seen it early in him. He's 6'4", he's got long arms. You know what I'm saying? The things that translated to him, and he could shoot. He turned himself into a good player just based upon the work ethic. Him and his dad would go to St. Philip's Church and work out there. Then they would come to practice, and then he would do the work after. He would get with Swain. Shout out to Swain. Swain basketball. He would work with Swain. And so, then I had another young man who went to Morehouse. And then Cedric Taylor, who is playing at Howard right now, who ended up going to Morehouse from Drew. I seen him as he was an 8th grade. He was in the feeder program. And so, you just kind of give them the steps and give them the confidence. And, I can't take credit for the win, but what I will say is what we established allowed them to, in a 5-year span, win a state championship of basketball, and be one of the top, single A, schools, in the state. I don't take the credit for it, but I was extremely proud of the work that I did. So rewind back a little bit, 2020, COVID. We ended school, and I'm just preparing for the next season. And then the opportunity to go to Russ College came up. And like I said, the goal was always college. It wasn't high school necessarily at this particular time. So I took a chance, and I went to Russ College during COVID in August of 2020.
That is crazy, man. That is, and that's in Missouri. Is that in Missouri? Mississippi.
I went from Atlanta to Mississippi. I took a pay cut, tremendous pay cut. I left my son, who was 4 at the time, to go that far away from home, because it was a dream. It was a dream. You just chase. Like, I wanted to coach college. So I got there, man. Shout out to Coach Newton, who's at Claflin. Coach Newton, who's assistant coach at Claflin, was my head coach at Russ. He was the one that hired me.
Now, what division is Russ?
Russ is in AI. They're in the same conference we're in right now. So we just had our conference meeting, and I went back there. So that was a little nostalgia there with that. And I spent a semester there. I left in December because what was promised to me wasn't what was given. They basically told me that I couldn't coach, that I had to work in the dorms. I had to stay in the dorms, that I couldn't go to practice and I couldn't go to games because the dorm needed to be tended to, because that was the agreement to take the job, that I had to be the dorm director. And so at this time, that same year, Coach Huff took the job here at Vorhees. And he and I have been communicating because, at this time, I'm like, man, is this a smart move? Did I do the right thing? I'm missing my Drew guys. You know what I'm saying?
And Drew is stability. Drew is stability. I mean, that's like you're going from Norcross to Drew, which is straight stability. To
I could have been there. It could have been a 30-year situation. I was embraced in the community. I was, K through 12. We had talent in the pipeline that's still there now. You know what I'm saying? And my assistant at the time, Coach Bennett, he was my assistant. He took over, a year after Coach Samir had won a championship. So, it was a good situation. But again, I always tell the guys, I always tell my guys, follow your dreams. And I was like, why wouldn't I? To give it a shot. So left, and Coach Huff had an assistant that he already wanted to come, but something happened and it didn't work out. And I said, Huff, I'll come to Vorhees. He said, Jay, I can't promise you anything. I said, Huff, I don't care. I just want to come work under you. And that's how I ended up in Denmark, South Carolina, January 7th, 2021. I ended up here at Vorhees, and I haven't left since.
And you took over the head coaching job at 2023, right?
When he transitioned to Edward Waters.
And man, shout out to Coach Huff, man. Morehouse man. Man, got some of the best energy of anybody. He actually corrected me. Man. And there's no disrespect to me in that. When I interviewed him, when I was talking Vorhees, I said, and I misspoke, and I said better, and I should not have said that.
Yeah.
And that was a wrong thing to say, but and he corrected me, and man, I'm so appreciative. And when I talk to parents all the time, they say that, and I took that from him because I talked to him, and we were talking about going to Vorhees and going to something better, which was not the right word, and it's not better. You got to figure out what's right for you. You know what I mean? You got to figure out what's right for you, man. And I'm so thankful for him for
that's where the tears come in.
Telling me
sorry
that at that time, man, because I get so many times, and even me personally, when I was coming up, man, I always dreamed about going. I dream like most kids. I dream Syracuse, like all these type things, and unfortunately, I didn't go where somebody was actually leaning into me. Right. I went with what my dream was, or what D1, and I probably should not have ever done that. What I should have done is gone and and obviously 18, you don't know any better. But I should have gone where somebody was really trying to lean into me and cultivate me and be like, try to help me to be the best version of myself. And it worked out. These are all first world challenges, but it is what it is. But man, shout out to Coach Huff because he really taught me something when he actually corrected my ass when I said better. Because better is not the sometimes when I talk to parents, and I don't even like talking to basketball to parents, to be honest with you. I don't like talk to your high school coach, talk to the man on the street. Do not talk to me about basketball because you're probably not gonna like what I tell you. But cats always talk about, man, I think my son is better than this school. I think he's better. Like, you're not better than anything. If somebody thinks enough of you to recruit you and show interest in you, man, you should give whatever that place is the ultimate respect.
Exactly.
And it ain't never about better. You should feel appreciative that they are taking their time out to recruit. Because guess what? Right now, it is hard to get a college scholarship. It is hard to get a college. I was just talking to Gigi Gecko. I was talking to him the other day when we were down in North Augusta. I was like, man, there are a million kids here. How many kids do you think really out of this event are going to get scholarships? And man, he said probably about, and this is all like freshmen through seniors. He said probably about 35 kids. Probably about 35 kids. And it was a couple of thousand there, man. A couple, and all of them probably think that they are good enough. But it's tough. So man, shout out to Coach Huff. I actually saw him down here in Atlanta not too long ago. And man, I always appreciate that about his conversation, at least with me, in terms of, man, the whole better thing. You are as good as whoever you're talking to. It's never about better. But man, and I apologize for going off on that.
No, you're good, man. Again, it's your show. If you want to cut me off.
I know that.
I'm a humble guest, man. I'm happy to be here.
I'm just saying it because it's the right thing to say.
I'm just so happy to be here. But talking about Coach Huff, man, I get emotional. Oh man, because and I am crying, so I am the first on the show. I just want to.
You're right. You are a crier.
And No,
Or
because
leaking as we say. Old cats say leaking.
what you just said, man, is so true of him, man. Like I wanted to come be up under him because I seen what he's done for other people. If you know his coaching tree, and he just got another coach, another opportunity at Fort Valley State. Shout out to Brandon Britt for getting the job. Like he just got another coach, a head coaching job. And honestly, man, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to have my dream of being a head coach at Vorhees because his letter of recommendation to Miss Johnson, our AD, shout out to Miss Johnson, was probably what sealed the deal, honestly, man. Like, and just my time with him, man. I spent you're here in Denmark. You've been to Denmark before, have you?
You know what, Coach Williams? I was gonna say yeah, but I can't lie to you. I cannot lie to you because I've never lied on this platform.
Yeah.
I know. Shout out to Larry Davis in Denver.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
where it is, but I have never been to Denmark.
Yeah, man. And Denmark,
but I gotta come.
and Denmark is a great place. It's been a great place for me, and I didn't expect it. It's been a great place for me because it's been quiet. And it allows for me to be, you know what I'm saying? It allowed for me to grow so much. But just talking about working under Coach Huff, and I'll give you a personal story about the type of person he is, man. Year 2, I struggled working with him in year 2. And I remember going into year 3, his last year here. Man, he wrote me a letter, man. And I got this letter. I got the letter. I've never had a grown man write me a letter. And it goes back to what you just said about him correcting you. Man, he wrote me this letter, but I felt the love in this letter, and it was a letter of correction. It was a very hard letter for me to read, man, but it was the letter that I needed to know that my expectations of you are a lot higher than where you're at. And I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed because I expect you to be at a higher level. And I never had anybody speak to me that way in that form. That, you know, just when you have somebody who you work with every day, and they're saying, I noticed that there's a dip in not necessarily your production, but about the character traits that I value in you being here.
Yeah.
And man, that letter changed my life. I read that letter before. I've read that letter this postseason. I read that letter. I've read that letter every postseason that I've been a head coach. I'm going to read that letter probably every year that I'm a coach in between, man, because it draws me to a place where A, it humbles me, and B, it lets me know that this is the type of coach that I should be for the assistants that I have. And so, man, and I know, you know, people always sing his praises, man, but until you work with him, you don't really know. Like y'all see him, you know, on the recruiting, you know, platforms, but the people that know him, the people that have been in the trenches with him, the people that seen him grind and struggle, like you just have such an appreciation for the person that he is. So, you know what I'm saying? I know we already shouted him out, but I just wanted to say publicly, you know, on these type of forums, man, like if it wasn't for Coach Huff, I wouldn't be the head coach at Vorhees University. And I probably could have took advantage of the opportunity to follow him, man, but he knew my dream. You know what I mean? He knew. Yeah. And, you know, he counseled me. He was like, no, take this. You want it. This is what you wanted, right? And everything that comes with it. So I've been able to navigate here because I got a chance to watch how he did it. And so, you know, the only thing that I hate is that I didn't beat him last year. I almost got him. That would have been like the icing on the cake if I would have beat him last year. We almost had him.
Well, shout out to Coach Huff. We can't give him too much stuff on this podcast, but shout out to Coach Huff, man. If you want to talk, if you want to listen to the podcast that we have with him, you know, it's on the website, man. But obviously, man, much respect to Coach Huff. So talk, Coach Williams, a little bit about that transition. You know, stepping the seat over, going from the assistant coach to being the head coach. What was that transition like?
Unexpected. So I tell all young people that want to be a head coach, if you ever say I'm not ready, you're not ever going to be ready. Like there's no such thing as being ready. I think you could be a little bit prepared. Being organized is always a good thing to have as a characteristic. Right. But I think, man, you just kind of got to go a lot with your gut that first year because you're putting in stuff that may be new. Luckily, man, I follow behind Coach Huff, so I had a system because he allowed me to do so much. Todd, I did a lot of the stuff that I'm doing currently now when I was an assistant.
Well, at that NIA level, and this is, I apologize for asking another question on top of the question, but in that at that NIA level, NAIA level, you got to do a lot, even as the assistant. You got to. It's almost like you are the head coach.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, talk a little bit about what it's like to be the assistant, but also be a head, and what the difference is, because I would assume you're so locked in together because you have to do so much.
Well, the biggest thing as an assistant is you're fulfilling somebody else's vision.
Right.
They casted the vision, and it's your job to support that vision. That's your only job. Right. Your job is not to critique that vision. Your job is to try to do your very best to satisfy that person's vision. As the head coach, you're vision casting. Now you have to not only sell your vision, but you got to get people to buy in that your vision is the vision that is necessary for you guys to be successful. And so those are the two biggest differences. You're more in a supporter role as an assistant. And depending on who your head coach is, your job as an assistant is to show as much as your talents of ability so that way he can offload some of his stuff so he can do the head coaching duties. One of the biggest things that I struggle with, which I love my university to, I love it, is, what I'm saying, I oftentimes, because I do a lot, because I'm by myself, like I don't have nobody to bounce things off. You know what I'm saying? So I can have if I have a bad day, that means the program has a bad day. So that means I have little marginal error to have bad decision days. Whereas if I had an assistant, you know what I'm saying, it's more of the standpoint of me being able to get their opinion. They may have an idea that they use from their past that can help, and I can use that to bounce off of. So that's like the biggest thing, because imagine me calling the timeout, going out of the huddle and talking to myself about strategy and what to do, like the conversation.
Well, with that being said, it just kind of is what it is.
Yes.
And you have to, at least in my opinion, you have to kind of use that as a superpower, right?
You do.
In terms of, you're being at that level and you're not having an assistant, but how do you use that kind of as a superpower going forward as a head coach?
For me, I'm very organized. I planned out the season.
Well, you probably have to be. It's out of necessity.
Yeah, planning is the biggest thing. So I have to make sure that everything is planned to make plans outside of the plan. So I got a calendar on my wall. That calendar is from August 1 to March 1. And so every practice, every break, every situation, you just try to do some tasks in the summertime. That's why this time is crucial. A lot of people be like, yo, kids are gone, you got a break. No, I don't have a break. This is my planning period, so to speak. If I was, a teacher in the classroom, this is my planning period. It allows me to be able to do a lot of things. And time management. I got to really be judicious with my plan. That's why I try to tell people about recruiting. If I'm the only one on the road, I can't get everywhere. So I got to hit spots. I can't go to every high school. Everybody send me, so come see this kid. Well, if he's 5 to 6 hours away, that's almost like a wasted trip for me. You know what I'm saying?
That's why this past weekend was so probably good for you, and this weekend is going to be so good for you.
See everybody in one place, and then you go. So I have to be judicious with my time and my time management. So whereas if I have a staff, I can send a guy to North Carolina to see their team camp. But if a kid from North Carolina, I got to create ways. So I had a young man who I was recruiting, and I drove to see him. He was in the Raleigh-Durham area, right? So I drove to see him. That's a high priority kid. You know what I'm saying? He's a D2, D1 talent. You're gonna make talent for those kind of guys in that situation. So it's just a matter. But if I can see a concentrated group, if you got a play date and it's 3 or 4 schools, I'm more apt to go see you there.
Right.
Than I am just trying to go see you. And then especially during the season, without having a staff, I can't get to many high school games. So I gotta go to events, formerly Round Ball Classic, the Bash. Like I gotta hit those, Chick-fil-A, those major events, especially in our state.
Shout out for the showdown in Shannon, and we're hosting the headliners of our Ridgeview and Gray Collegiate on November 22nd at Drill High School.
No, I won't be there because we got a game, but I'll be there at the next event. We play November 22nd. So
it's all good. But with that being said, I will say this, and I think this works in your favor. even you probably look at, like a Power 5 or all those, like the landscape of college basketball has changed so much. Like
Yes.
they probably have more resources, but it's changed so much that you have to be flexible. You can't just lean back and let other people do it. Like everybody's got to kind of get on there. It's like a hustle. Everybody got to get on their hustle. It's Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's basically Atlanta 2.0. You got to be able to get on your hustle and figure it out. And obviously, everybody don't have the same resources, but everybody don't have the same expectations as well. But with that being said, talk a little bit about your first few years at Vorhees and what you've learned, and then we're going to get into South Carolina specifically in terms of recruiting.
What I've learned in my first 3 years, to be honest, it really is a reflection of last season, which was a very tumultuous season for me, basketball-wise and personal-wise.
Yeah, Coach. 7-19, Coach. I got the numbers right here. 7-19, 4-14 in the conference. Keep going.
You got to stick to your core values. You can't waver from your core values, which is what I did. So you got to stick to what you know. I got to stick to choices. Transfer portal, you got to find the right kids. Got to find the right transfers. That's important, especially if you got a mix of high school and transfer guys. You got to find the right transfers that fit with your guys. And then lastly, you got to know your school. You got to know your school. Because when you know your school, you'll be able to get a certain type of kid in, and you'll be able to know how to get that kid in. So I think those three things are things that I would say that I've learned the most over these last 3 years.
How difficult is it? And, I would say this to John Calipari if he was on this podcast right now. Mm-hmm. Shout out to John Calipari. How difficult is it to have, because this is mind-boggling to me. You're having to recruit high school kids,
right,
and also having to manage the portal at the same time.
Right.
So technically, you're just having to manage for like not even 1 year, but just like 6 to 7 months or whatever. Right. How difficult is it kind of fitting all that together and trying to make it fit? Because honestly, I would assume you never really know if it is going to fit. You might think but how difficult is it kind of managing all that at the same time?
The vetting process, man. Like there are certain indicators. People are going to be who they're going to be, right? And the thing that you probably know more than anything else is, which I think you're very good at, is you're probably 1 or 2 people away from a kid to where you could truly get to know his character and who he is. Now, again, you got to see whose tree I'm under. I'm under Coach Hupp tree. I can make a phone call to Coach Hupp, and he probably has every coach in America number, right? So if I really want to talk to a kid or see a kid, I have connections to where I can really get to his janitor to know if he's picking, where's he doing with his trash, with his straw paper when he's done with it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much the biggest thing. And so I probably learned a little bit from last year to this year about going a little bit more deeper before you see a kid. Because I do a lot on Twitter. I'll be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as for me not getting out, you know what I'm saying? It ain't like I had a young man from London. I had 3
That's
kids.
Really smart.
I use social media, you know what I'm saying, to be able to get kids, but all you get is a video. So that's where your vetting process. I probably spend at least 3 to 4 hours a day calling the connections of the kid to get as much information about the kid as I can. And if you're hearing 2 or 3 of the same thing about a kid in the negative, then that's probably not somebody you want to bring into your locker room.
Speaking on that,
that's what you've seen on the floor last year. That's what people seen on the floor. What you're going to see on the floor this year is a connectedness with the guys that not only translates off the court, but it translates on the floor.
You know what, man? I'm so glad you said that, Coach. Speaking on that, I had a kid, and again, I'm not like we promote a lot of kids, but I really don't have a lot of contacts. Like I ain't pushing kids, like talking to coaches and that kind of thing. Man, I had a kid. 2 examples. I had a parent kind of complaining about the coach and everything and all that. And, I'm a big person on what did they say? Talent leaves no doubt.
Right.
If you, like my dad used to always tell me, take it out of the coach's hands. Be so good that the coach has no, he doesn't have any other choice but to play you.
That's
Take it out of coach's head. That's how life is. But man, that's one side of it. But the other side of it is, man, I had a guy DM me about 6 months ago. And I talked to a lot of high school kids, and I talked to them. I had a dude DM me from South Africa.
South Africa.
And never, this DM never will leave my mind, man. He DM'd me, and it was kind of grainy video. He was shooting baskets outside, about 6'4".
Yeah.
Baskets outside, man. And you're talking about getting emotional, man. I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. He DM'd me because I've been to South Africa and I've been to Soweto, so man, I know what that vibe is.
Yeah.
Them shanty towns, I know. When cats talk about this tough, that's a whole different, that's a different level. He DM'd me, said, man, he was shooting baskets. And he said, I love what you guys are doing on the platform. All I need is a chance.
Yeah.
And when he said that, man, it just killed me. I was like, damn, that dude got it, man.
Yeah.
That dude's got it, man.
Yeah. No, I get those. I might have got the same one you got from that kid.
Yeah.
It's very similar. I probably get one or two of those in the spring and then one or two of those in the fall of just, and I wish I could go over there and do an I-20, but I try to do the very best I can with giving young people opportunity.
But I say that story, not to kind of talk about that kid, because that was a special kid. And that guy's he's gonna be great regardless,
right?
Whether it's basketball or not. But with that being said, when you go to the tournaments, how much do you look at kids outside of when they're playing, like when they're on the sidelines and things like that? Because I think a lot of the kids don't realize, that's a job interview. Like, you're always being evaluated.
That's a great
when you come off the floor, when how do you react with your teammates? How much do you look at that kind of stuff in addition to the way they play? You know what I'm saying?
If you ask any kid if you look at any offer, and I'll put a name out there, can I do that? Can I put the name of a kid that I've offered?
Well, I don't care. I ain't what it said. But just don't talk about the kid you offer, but just say in general.
So I'll just say, I'll say this. Are you unflappable? If you make, so the first thing I'm looking at, if you make or miss shots, how are you reacting?
Right.
Something that's a turnoff for me is when you miss a shot and you slap your leg or you drop your head. Because I'm gonna tell you what happens. Every time that happens, your man is usually running on the other end. And if you're playing the Indiana Pacers, that's an outlet pass to Siakam for a layup. How quick can you transition? That's a big thing. Because in our game, man, you're not gonna be 100. Shooting is one of the rare things you can do everything right. Have the form, elbow, finger spread, and you can do everything, and it can rim out. It's just that there's nothing you can do about that. So why are you reacting off every shot? If you didn't follow through, next time I shoot, I'm gonna follow through and see what happens, right? But I have to transition the defense if there's a miss, or I need to be ready to shoot again if I got somebody to offense rebound. There's a reaction right after you release that ball, right? And so I watch that. That's the first thing. The second thing is, how do they take correction from their coach? If they do something, on the floor, if they do something wrong, how are they reacting to their teammates, especially for point guards? I'm super hard. If you make a pass and a man doesn't catch the ball, what are you doing to him? Are you going to shake his hand and say, you'll get it next time? You know what I'm saying? Are you encouraging? Or are you making a face and pointing at him or mad because he messed up your assist? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's any player. How are you reacting to adversity? How are you reacting to things you can't control? And then what are you doing when your coach gets on you? Are you looking them in the eye? Are you saying, yes, sir? Or are you doing that and then going to the bench and snapping and grabbing the towel and sitting at the end of the bench and pouting? And then the last thing is, if you're not on the floor and you feel like you should be on the floor, are you still cheering your teammates on? I watch those things. I watched the kid this weekend from the time he missed the shot to the time he went to the bench from the time he turned the ball over. Coach took him out. I watched him all the way to the end of his bench. and he didn't shake his teammates' hands. And he stopped at the end of the bit. And I watched him. And I kid you not, his dad sent me a DM saying, "Hey, watch my son." I just got a DM
Say,
today.
I did.
The same kid.
And you know, I don't want to be, I don't mean to be too hard, because man, we've all been players. We've all been 17.
Sure.
We've all been 17. But those things matter, man. And now it's as difficult as it's ever been, especially for high school kids,
because of the numbers,
to get looks.
The
so
numbers.
You gotta, like, it's a job interview. Like that whole, like those weekends, they're job interviews, man. They're job interviews. So it's I just hate when people and parents, like, I think it's the parents, but parents gotta like tell or be honest with their kids on what's happening, man.
It's a job interview. And for some kids it's innate, some it's not, and I understand that because I'm gonna get on you. Like you're gonna come to our practice, you're gonna be in our practice, you're gonna mess up. And my expectations are for, especially if I talk something and you do it wrong, like I'm gonna get on you. How you respond in that matters to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I need you to fix it. Because I desire you to play, especially if I recruit you. I am invested. And so that's another thing that we talk about. Whether it's NIA or Division I, I'm investing in you before you invest in me.
Right.
Your scholarship dollars that I have comes out of a budget that I have. And I'm saying, whatever money I give you, I'm giving you that money and hoping you produce. So, so you're benefiting not only yourself, but you're benefiting me. It behooves me to invest in you, to give you the tools. It doesn't behoove me to get you here and to berate you or do whatever that case or make you fail. I need you to be successful because I'm saying I recruited you. I'm saying I believe in your talent. So I need you to be successful to validate my decision.
And not to say, and believe me, I definitely was like this. Not to say you just got to be a military dude, and I love the military, but you just got to let a person yell at you all day, and you just don't say nothing. But I like you can have both, but you gotta, to me, you have to stand up for yourself, and even if tell me what you believe in, all that, and and one thing I'm big on. And well, I'm not a coach, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm just, hey, I need that eye contact, though.
Yes, sir.
I need that eye contact. And everybody talks about what does it take to be a brand ambassador? All the brand ambassadors we've had, majority of them have gone D1, have gone play college basketball. All of them are gonna give you some eye contact.
They're gonna give you some.
All of them are gonna be able to like have a comment because. In order to play basketball, you've got to be able to communicate.
You got to.
And eye contact is a big thing. Yep. And like when we were growing up, we didn't think anything of it because in order to go to the gym in 6th or 7th grade, you know what you had to do? You had to go there and say, "Hey man, who got next?
Who got next?"
You gotta look a person in their eye.
Yeah. Sometimes you had to fight for it. But
it wasn't no open runs. It wasn't no open runs.
But even to that fact of not yelling and not being disrespectful to a kid, I think the biggest thing is for the young people to understand that if you truly make a mistake, be accountable, but know that somebody's gonna be there to tell you, like, hey, you made a mistake. Here's how you can fix it. Take accountability, like you right. Like it's because that's the tough thing about trying to coach these young people nowadays is I'm not trying to belittle you, but you made a mistake. Accept the mistake. That's called accountability. Take the talking to, because I'm not yelling at you, I'm talking to you, and let's figure out how to fix it because we both have a common goal. And I think that's lost a lot of times. We have a common goal. I want you to get it right. I know you want to get it right. You didn't get it right. So I have to tell you didn't get it right. And so now let's figure out how to fix it. And that's where the dialogue comes in. And I have that with my guys, man. Like we talk to each other and they be like, Coach, my guys, I will say that for me, my guys know that if they don't feel something on the floor, they can talk to me. They can be like, Coach, I don't think this defense is going to work. And I'll listen to it. And I'll be like, all right, what you want to do? Well, let's go man to man in this situation. All right, we'll go man to man, And so because we have that dialogue and that starts in practice with me not just yelling at them, but I ask them questions. Do you think that was a good decision? Is that the decision that we want to get out of this particular set or out of this play or out of this situation? So I just think it is how it is coaching.
Well, Coach, I got one more question after this comment, and then we'll get you out of here. But I think one of your advantages, advantages you have is you have equity. You have equity with your players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So your players can. I mean, you have built-in equity in terms of your players are probably they feel like they care. You care about them. So you're always gonna that's gonna be an advantage, not just because you're black and you got that
Yeah.
Philly. You got that Philly, but that you just got the equity of players. But one thing I want to ask you about South Carolina specifically,
Yes, sir.
and we always get this in terms of recruiting. How how focused are you on the state of South Carolina? And if you're not focused on, be transparent. But how focused are you specifically on the state, and what are kind of your goals in terms of being as present as you can within the state?
So I'll do the reverse first. I'm not as present as I could, but it is a focus because, and I'll give a shout out to my university. There is an emphasis on getting South Carolina kids to stay in South Carolina. I have two young men coming in from South Point. I got two teammates from South Point, Jaheim Hall and Rodarius Hill. You know what I'm saying? So, I recruit South Carolina, but I think Darius Elkins, who was at Newberry, that's a small school that, I went and seen him. So I have a couple. Omari Bryson, who was at Northwestern. So I recruit the state. And I probably need to do better in the Charleston area because everybody's gonna go to Columbia because that's where things kind of flow.
Well, that's just the way it is, but keep going.
So I know who's who and what's what. But what I like to tell young people is you're not just competing with guys from South Carolina. I'm from Georgia. I have relationships in Georgia, so I do recruit Georgia. I recruit Florida. That's also in my breadbasket. And I recruit North Carolina. So you're recruiting with mainly those young people from those three states. And not only that, I have a good Twitter presence. So I get stuff from Texas, from Africa, from Australia, Serbia.
International.
So you guys are competing in a global market. So it's not just you. So if I offer a kid, and also it's about knowing who the market is. If I see a kid early and I offer and he plays well and other schools.
Might have lost coach. We might have lost coach.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I accidentally hit my camera. So if you give me 1 second, I can get it back up.
Go ahead.
It didn't pop back up, did it?
I
might have to use the laptop charger.
Take your time.
Where'd it go? Yeah, I'm just gonna go to my settings and use the laptop charger. That'd be a lot easier. Can I talk while I'm trying to do this? Will that help the broadcast?
Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I just say that they're competing with the global market. So even if I offer a kid, I always tell them, if I offer a kid, I'm gonna tell them, I'm not the only, you're not the only athlete at that position because my job is to find the best player that I think is possible. And it's not just me. So I have an assistant now. So I bring everything to the table with him and he'll bring guys to me and we'll sit down and say, is this kid better than this kid? You know what I'm saying? And then it also comes down to who's the first commit. Because if you commit and I don't need you anymore, I got to call. I'm on a call and be like,
you're not stupid. You know
Yeah.
if you're not stupid. You know if you offer a kid, you're like, all right, let me see what's going on. You know he's trying to play the field too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I man, I have so much respect for South Carolina. Like I said, it's grown on me over coming into this. I knew like the top guys, the top heavy guys. But even as we say levels, which I don't like to use that word, I just think there's so many different factors. Who you play matters to me. Like if you're playing a team, if you're playing teams in your region that only play zone, well, I'm a man-to-man coach. I haven't seen you guard man-to-man, so now I got to find ways to be able to see you, or you're gonna struggle.
Right.
That's when it goes back to that about the research and the vetting the young man.
Yeah.
Because one question that I'll ask all my recruits is, how'd you handle adversity? Tell me about a time when you was dealing with adversity. How'd you handle it? And I'll ask his high school coach, and I'll ask his parents. How does he deal well when things don't go right? You know what I'm saying? Because what freshmen don't understand is there's a wall you're going to hit because you played in high school. You get to college, the season a little longer. You got a full day worth of activities. You got time management that you got to do. And if you're not successful early, if you've been successful in high school and you get to college where athleticism is all equal at this point in time, now we're dealing with the mental aspect of the game. So there's so many different factors. But to go back to your question, South Carolina and me is growing on each other. I kind of know who's who. And I get out and I see people. One of the things that I want to do this year is I want to see the young people in practice. Like I want to be able to tell the coach, hey, I'm gonna show up in practice and show up and just see how you do in practice without knowing I'm coming. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a big thing. What are your habits? Because then I'm gonna watch a game and if something don't translate, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, because of what you didn't do. So I'm taking my process a little better. But as far as exposure, I think South Carolina does a good job. I love that the games could be on Monday or Tuesday because in Georgia, it's Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. But in South Carolina, you might catch a game on a Wednesday. So I like that, aspect of it. And I think overall, probably in the last 2 to 3 years, the level of attention and the detail of coaching has increased, man. Like, there's some amazing coaches in this state that I don't think get enough credit. Like I'm just amazed at just how they develop, given that most of the state plays football. Like the level of basketball attention has been so amazing. And these coaches, man, they do such a great job. And these teams play so hard. And I know that's like the cliche thing to say, but when I say play hard, meaning nothing's given. Nothing is given. I think about like Ridgeview. You play them, you in a dogfight. Lancaster, you play them, you in a dogfight. Like you're not gonna just beat them. Like you're gonna have to literally punish them to submission because they're gonna keep fighting. Keenan, same way with what Coach does there. White No Irmo, like what Coach Whipple's done for so long. You know what I'm saying? And you look at the teams for Dorchester down in Charleston, how they play, the scrappiness that they have. What Goose Creek does in the area. So I just, Greenville, like I see you talking about the young man. I went in the young man from Greenville who's having a good summer. Yeah, man. I'm watching him and he's fearless.
He had a hell of a summer.
He's fearless. He's fearless. These South Carolina kids are so fearless. And I love that about them. Like it's almost like they're not paying attention to the outside world, the other states or what's going on. And they're locked in and focused on what's happening in this state, and they're so fearless, man. Like they're not afraid.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. I want all kids to get honestly, I don't care if kids get scholarship. I want kids to get an opportunity. Now, what you do with your opportunity is on you.
Yeah.
Get the opportunity, and after you get the opportunity, there's no excuses or anything like that. And that's why, man, I got so much respect for you, Coach Williams.
I appreciate you, man.
And what you do, because what you do isn't easy. Not that any coaching is easy, but what you do is not easy. But what you're doing is you're trying to give kids opportunities through basketball with the education. And it's that's a fantastic thing, man. I'm so appreciative that we bumped into each other. Actually, you had reached out to me actually before I actually saw you.
Yeah.
But you had that Atlanta hustle on you when I saw you when I saw you in that gym, man. But man, much respect to you, man. And
Todd, if you don't mind, I just want to say, man, ultimately my goal is not even to win. It's not even to win or lose, man. It's to develop successful, confident men.
Right.
I want to develop successful, confident men. I want young people who can overcome adversity, man, because they know
that overcoming adversity is going to get you on the other side to be successful. So for me, it ain't even about the wins and losses, man. I'm just proud of my graduation rate, proud of the GPA that we have here. We've been the number one team on campus as far as sports, and that's not said a lot of times in our community as far as from a basketball standpoint, and so I'm proud of those things.
Well, I agree. But Coach, you're on the Lost Letterman.
I know.
You're on the Lost Letterman.
Yo.
And we can't BS you, man. We can't BS you. 7-19 last year.
Not good.
Total.
Not good.
4-14 in the conference.
Yes, sir.
We gotta improve.
Yes.
Keep your graduation rate wherever it is. Keep your graduation rate wherever it is, and hope that goes up too.
Yes.
But we want to make sure that schedule, those results go up. And we saw how active you were in terms of the offers and all that.
Yeah.
And honestly, and it's great to recruit South. Don't get me wrong. I want Vorhees to be successful. If it's with South Carolina kids, if it's with Georgia kids, it's with kids from Uganda.
Yeah.
Uganda. I want Coach James Williams to be successful because Lost Letterman, we don't hide.
No,
we love everybody.
We
like everybody.
We not.
We love some coaches and we love some programs.
Yeah.
To the fullest, and we definitely going to be behind Vorhees University.
I appreciate it, man.
You got whatever we can do on this side. We're always here for you.
You got to come to homecoming, November 8th. We play Morris. Come on, man. You got to come out, see what we got going on here, man.
Hey, Coach Williams, Lost Letterman has two little Lost Lettermans.
Bring them, man. It's a family affair. Bring them. No, but man, I appreciate you, man. 4-19 is not good. 7-19, sorry, is not good. I'm looking to improve on that. No excuses, man. I got to eat it, right? You know what I'm saying? And I do it every day.
Yes, sir.
There we are. But man, I appreciate you so much, man, and what you do, your platform, and I appreciate the accountability. So if you see me on December, which would be the 12 game mark, I want to text or something to be like, hey man, it's looking like last year.
hey, Coach, you definitely do not want to pull up my collegiate record because it was bad for 4 years. So I understand.
Oh man.
But man, again, do you have any other shout outs that you want?
Yes, man. I appreciate you saying that. I want to shout out Zyreek Bradford, who was in the chat, man. Him and McBee basketball. If he texts me one more time about shouting him out, we're gonna fight. My man Jarrell Travis, man. First and foremost, my wife, man. I've been married for a month and 20 days now. My wife has been awesome and amazing. Shout out to you, Altamise. I love you. And then last but not least, man, my athletic director, Charlene Johnson, and my president, Dr. Ronnie Hopkins, for believing in me, for not firing me in between March and now this year, for giving me, another opportunity to show what I can do. Because trust me, Todd, I've had the meetings. And so, next level of excellence is what it's supposed to be. And I got to get us there with no other excuses. So those would be my shouts out, man.
Well, you know what? You will get there, and whatever we can do to help you get there, we're right here for you, man. So much respect to you, brother.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to keep this thing going, man.
Yes, sir.